Okay, welcome to part 2 of our HAFA directive videos here. First of all, I have to say this at the beginning. This is a Treasury Department directive. It is not the law. It is not legislature. It is not an enacted bill that has gone through and been signed by our president to say that this is the way it has to be across the board. Please help me educate your fellow real estate agents that this is not the law. When they came out with the Fannie Mae directive, back in the springtime, that said they wouldn't reduce commissions below 6%, all a lot of agents did was scan that subject line of the email that said Fannie Mae won't reduce commissions below 6% in a short sale, and then they thought it was this law that the President of the United States said that they can't ever ask for less than 6%. It's complete hogwash. It just had to do with Fannie Mae loans, and it didn't mean they would approve the loan because they had a specific net. So please, I just want to emphasize that. I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation with agents that it's against the law to reduce a commission below 6%. It's not. It has nothing to do with legality in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so let's continue on with this. Just a quick review. The plan layouts. It has time limits for lenders to process short sales. There's no collection rights on the loan. They are not able to reduce real estate commissions under the plan directive, and there's monetary incentives for parties involved. Okay, pitfalls. The first pitfall was just basically history of the Making Homes Affordable program is not, white as snow here. Number 2, and that's where we're at right now, the 10-day processing. There are tons of hoops here. So we talked about pitfall A, which is they have to get approved ahead of time, and if they get approved ahead of time, how is the bank going to get a realistic market value of the property in order to approve this dollar amount? It's great if they can, and if we can do this, if we can come up with a good system, and if you as agents are able to really get good at your BPOs. And so, again, this is a critical piece. If you can get really good at your BPOs, then we might be able to get some serious streamline in this, because you can get a basically pre-approved short sale. We do all of the processing up front, and then once the offer comes in, it's just boom, straight through. So there's some potential here, but again, we've got pitfalls to move around. Okay, pitfall B, under the 10-day processing. If they are not previously approved on the HAFA program, then when a short sale is submitted, the first step before they even review the short sale is to review them under the HAMP program, the HAMP, and that is the modification process, giving the borrowers 14 days if they qualify for a loan modification. So I can see huge issues in this. We're already struggling with lenders that are overworked in their short sale department, just closing out short sales, throwing it over to loan modification, and saying, oh, well, they're in loan modification. What this does is give blanket rights to the bank to say, and rights is probably too strong of a word, but gives them the ability for the lender to say, boop, these go into loan modification. They haven't gone through they haven't been pre-approved on the short sale HAFA program, and so put them over into loan mod. So we're going to really have to create some incredibly important systems around this as the different lenders implement it. And that's the other thing. There are specific guidelines and directives that have come from the Treasury Department, but it's not written out so that it's the same with every lender. Every lender actually has to create their own process, procedure, and policy around this, making sure that they hit the requirements for Treasury Department and submit it for approval. So Bank of America is going to be completely different than Wells Fargo, is completely different than Chase. So that's going to be the other challenge, is that we're going to have to figure out what the policies are and procedures are for each of these individual lenders. The good thing for us at Alliance Short Sales is your short sale negotiators. This is going to be some serious job security, because it's going to become much more complex in the early process of processing the short sale versus the latter part. The huge benefit if we can create a process and a system around this, and we really can get buyers qualified for the HAFA program up front, is that when we get sorry, I think I said buyers, but I meant sellers qualified up front, is when we get a buyer, is that we can have a seriously streamlined back-end process. So there's some huge potential here if we can just submit the offer into the bank. We already know what the bank's going to approve based on their guidelines, and we can get it to go through. So we've got some months to figure this out, and the banks obviously have months to decide whether or not they're going to do it. Okay, moving on. So back to pitfall B really quick. If they haven't been pre-approved, then they're going to go through the loan modification process before then they're even going to go through the review for the short sale. So it could potentially lengthen the time of review. There is no predetermined amount of days. They don't have 10 days to do that because now they're not pre-qualified, right? So they don't have to fall into those guidelines. All right, number 3, second mortgages. They're going to be the joker in this deck for sure because they're only allowed $3,000 under this plan as a subordinate lien holder. There is no incentive to the second mortgages to do anything with this. And I'm going to guarantee you up front that the second mortgages are going to be who bog this thing down. First mortgages are going to do their best to figure it out, but the plan specifically says, as I've read through the directive as distributed from the Treasury Department, the plan specifically says that it's the buyer or the agent, or if you're working with us, our responsibility to work out subordinate lien holders to provide clear and transferable title. And so there's going to be some serious issues. When I say there's no incentive, the first mortgage investor is the one that's being incented to give money to the second mortgage. So they can get up to $1,000 as the investor if they give up to that $3,000. And I'm not going to go into the details because you really don't care as to how that works. But the point is this: there's no incentive to the second mortgage. They're going to get $3,000 off of the HUD like they do really anyway. And so who cares? I mean, $3,000, which in a lot of respects that we do get lenders to take $1,000 to $3,000 on a second mortgage. But there are some lenders, Bank of America, for example, who've been asking for 5% of the purchase price. Now, I just said last week that they're converting by the end of the month to countrywide home loans processing of short sales, so that's going to make some changes, which potentially can help that. But the reality is the Treasury Department even specifically said if the $3,000 isn't enough, they don't have to take it, and they don't have to fall under the HAFA program. The other thing, and I just have to quote this is actually out of the directive itself. It said the servicer is not responsible for any future actions or claims against the borrower by such subordinate lien holders and creditors. Basically, the first mortgage is not going to be able to go after them for a deficiency, but they're not giving any directive or requirement to the second mortgage at all. So, in states where the first mortgage can pursue deficiency after foreclosure and maybe is retaining those rights, this is good in the first mortgage side that they're not going to be able to pursue your borrower, your seller. But they're still not touching the second mortgage, and the second mortgage is who you usually have issues with wanting to pursue the seller for deficiency. And so it just leaves it wide open for the second mortgage to pursue them. Okay, so I told you there was a silver lining. Let's do this real quick because we're running out of time on this one too. Marketing benefits. This is going to be huge in the press. They're going to be talking about it a ton because what is our government doing right now? They're trying to look good as best possible, and so are the banks. And so these directives that they're putting out, more than affecting change in our country and in the financial system, what they're doing is they're giving good press and PR to both the banks and to the government in trying to help us with our credit crisis. So there's going to be a lot of promotion out there, and this is a great opportunity for you guys to jump on that. I mean, the $1,500 is what the borrower could potentially get if they qualify for the HAFA process and it goes all the way through closing. Yeah, they're going to get a $1,500 incentive, basically relocation money for themselves. So my recommendation is that you look at that and figure out a way that you can use that to market to people that would up till now have just thrown up their hands and said, forget it, I'm just going to let it go to foreclosure. Why do I care? My credit already sucks, so what's a foreclosure? What's the difference between $0 and $1,500? What kind of motivation is that going to give them to take the time to pull financials together and to respond to the bank in a timely fashion and all that kind of stuff? So utilize it in marketing, plus it's going to give some serious incentive to these sellers that are already in process or that are in process when the program is rolled out to stay in the process because they're looking at losing $1,500 if they don't. So anyway, that's just a quick overview of the HAFA process, the directive that came out last week. And again, we will continue to talk about this. I'm out of time. Have an excellent, excellent week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.